Doctors are leaving medicine. I mean, it's happening everywhere. It's happening in the NHS, across the globe. People are just dropping like flies. And if you're anything like me, you're seeing a lot of people around you constantly leaving for industry jobs, for consulting jobs, starting their own businesses. And the bigger question is, should you be leaving too? Let's talk about that. We'll get into it. A quick declaration, because I work with clinicians as an executive coach. I work with clinicians who want to become founders. So clearly I'm biased compared to those that are working with clinicians who have burnout, for example. So those people would tell you, here are all of the factors that are leading to burnout. And I have the view that, here are all the factors that are leading to clinicians doing things beyond just clinical work. So take that into account. Don't believe everything I say. Take it with a pinch of salt. Hear other people's opinions. But yeah, with that declaration, I want to talk about why I think doctors are leaving medicine and if there's really an opportunity for you out there. So I think there's really three key things happening here. I think there's been a change in the way medicine is practiced and then the world is running and the way healthcare is functioning in the last couple of decades. And it's really been happening even before COVID, but COVID's really shown a light on all of the things that are going wrong. And now we have an AI evolution, which is really going to change the way future of healthcare is practiced. And I'm afraid that many doctors don't know about it yet and aren't thinking about it yet. So what are these three things? I think in essence, the core three features that are really driving this change, if you want to call it a medical exit, a diffusion, or whatever you want to call it, but people are leaving. One of them is because there's an inherent change in the value of a doctor. What it means to be a doctor now and what it meant to be a doctor before is very, very different. The second thing I'm going to be talking about is there really is a change and a struggle that the doctor now goes through that hasn't existed in the past, right? And then the third thing is what it really means to be a doctor and what it means to do your MBBS. Those are the three key things that I think are really shifting in 2025. So let's get into it, like the value, right? The value piece. By the way, if you feel like you can already see a pattern here and you want to see if taking the founder journey is right for you, there's a quiz in the description down below. Go ahead and take that. It'll also add you to my newsletter where you'll get a couple more insights into what I'm learning as I work with clinicians on this journey. So yeah, feel free to do that if you like. But yeah, let's talk about the value piece, right? So what is the value of a doctor and why is it being perceived differently now? I'm going to quickly jump to the conclusion here. The fact is that doctors are really vetted professionals who can perform under pressure. Look at my doctor handwriting. Who can perform under pressure and have shown really good skills with analytics, with critical thinking, with being able to discern large volumes of data, which we do for patients all the time. And we're able to communicate that to patients and people in a way that makes a difference in their lives. Now, these are super valuable skills that other industries are now saying like, hey, we want those skills. We're looking for people with these skills. We're looking for people who can do this. And we don't care about the technical aspect. We'll teach you the technical aspect. So there's a slight shift in the way that things in industry are working as well. So if Microsoft saw somebody who can perform under pressure, has done it in a really tough environment, can communicate and make decisions when it really matters, they say like, okay, come in, we'll teach you how to make different kinds of decisions. We'll teach you how to actually do the technical aspect behind it. But the skills are really, really vetted. And I think industry now sees it better than they've ever seen it before. So I think that's one of the reasons why a doctor is being valued more in industry or other jobs or other places. And, if you walk into a room full of engineers or even a friends group and say, I'm a doctor, and because I do this on a daily basis, here's my take on it, it holds huge amounts of value. There's also added credibility that companies and organizations and friends and people get by you associating with them as a doctor, because you are a pillar of ethics and values in society. And the more we're heading towards this world of AI and everything being digitalized, the more and more these human values matter. So I think that's one huge thing that's changing. The second thing is there really is a change in the way that doctors struggle. Yes, it's always been hard. Yes, there's always been difficulties. But there is something different this time around in what I call the industrialization of healthcare. So if you think about it as the industrialization of manufacturing or any other industry, healthcare has also been industrialized. And what does that mean? That means that it's been optimized for efficiency. It's been optimized to reduce waste. If you feel like a cog in the machine, it's because it's designed to make you feel that way. You're literally meant to play a really small part in a chain of events that leads to patient outcomes. And they're trying to standardize these, and they're trying to standardize individual roles that you play. And if they can do that really well, they can assure really good outcomes for patients. And that's the idea behind what they're trying to achieve. Now, that means that the doctor is no longer the person responsible for all of this. Like the doctor used to be the person up here looking after this entire chain of events. And technically, as a consultant, you're captain of the ship. Ethically, you have responsibility. Legally, you have responsibility. However, the power and the ability to design that and run that and execute that is slowly being stripped away and is being given to other people along the way. And I mean, I don't need to tell you this. You can think of thousands of examples of various people in various different roles, non-clinical roles, allied health professionals who are taking more and more responsibility for the patient and patient care, because that's them doing their bit really well, but it also means that doctors have to share that responsibility. Now, if you're somebody who's striving for the best, who's striving for perfection, who has a huge responsibility tendency like I do, then you're going to find that really, really hard. But it also means that you don't need to be the best. In fact, the system doesn't want you to be the best, because if you stand out of the crowd, then it's hard to standardize you. It's hard to make you something that does the same as everybody else, because you're an outlier. Sometimes you're a positive outlier, sometimes you're a negative outlier, and the system doesn't like that. And as we're getting more and more industrialized, we're becoming less and less human, and that's why the decisions are falling through the cracks, and that's why patients are suffering. And that's why we as healthcare professionals, and I mean everybody, doctors, nurses, physios, dietitians, anybody who works in healthcare is really suffering from the moral injury that we face as a result of this industrialization. Not to mention the public perception is changing as well, for no fault of ours. It's just the way the role we play in there is different, and no one's really defined it, and it's changed, and it's changing, and it's changing very rapidly, and that plays into the perception piece. And then lastly, to mention the money piece, right? As you break down the value of each of the person's roles into many different roles, and you try and standardize it, you shift responsibility, you shift risk, and with that, you shift money. You shift the ability for people to earn. And that's never been an issue, because as doctors, we don't really do this for money. We do this for the change we can make in people's lives. We do this for the impact we have. But for the first time ever, money has become an issue, and money has become a challenge. The last thing I think we should talk about is the identity piece. And what do I mean by a change in the identity? And I think the fact that before, if you did MBBS or MBCHP or whatever you want to call it, it was because you wanted to become a doctor. That's not true anymore. I think as people are seeing that doctors can go into industry, as they're seeing that there's value to becoming a doctor in terms of having certain human skills and really valuable skills tested and vetted, and the fact that you get positioned as a person of influence and person who can actually change the healthcare system. If you're personally affected by the letting down of the healthcare system, which most doctors are, then, and you really want to make a change, then becoming a doctor becomes something super valuable to be able to do. So just as people would do an MBA to get opportunities to go elsewhere, people are now doing an MBBS, not just to become a doctor, but to actually gain those skills and then perhaps open up their options to go into various other industries. And as they do that, we start to see that, people aren't even making it to the end of medicine. They aren't even getting their registration to practice, and they're leaving, or they practice for 1 or 2 years and then they leave. That's probably because the value of a doctor outside is huge. The challenges are growing, and what they got into medicine for the first place wasn't actually to be a doctor, right? So that probably explains to you the trends that are happening and why people drop off at different points. The MBBS bit and the reason to get in is why people drop off early on. The challenges and the struggles are why people drop off later, combined with the value. But what does this mean for you, right? What does this all come together and mean for you? The truth is that I think there's a real opportunity here. So I think there's a real opportunity for you to explore the world beyond medicine, because your value is higher. The challenges you face now are worse in medicine than outside of medicine. The transition is tough, but it's something worth exploring. There really is an opportunity here. There is a sense of freedom that you're looking for, that most people are looking for. Will that be found outside of medicine is a bit of a trick question, because it really depends what you do. If you just jump off one treadmill and go onto another treadmill, you'll probably face the same challenges. And that's why you might have heard about stories of people leaving and then coming back to medicine. There's lots of amazing things that we get within the world of medicine that you won't find elsewhere. The alignment with your purpose, the alignment with ethics, the ability to really be at the front line is something that's hard to find elsewhere. But ultimately, I think the thing you really need to realize is that there is a wave. There is a wave right now of people moving beyond medicine. There's a wave of opportunities. There's a wave of new businesses and new ways of doing things, and in a way that still keeps you credible, plays to your strengths, and it really allows you to hone in on what matters more to you, what you want to do more of and what you want to do less of, in a way that gives you back that autonomy and that control that you've been looking for all along. And that really is the challenge. Like, the challenge is, do you know what you're credible for? What are you known for? What are your strengths? What are some things that you could do if you weren't practicing medicine tomorrow? If suddenly the treadmill disappeared and you had to start from scratch, where would you start? And I think you'll find this other video really helpful in figuring that out. So go ahead and have a watch.